Hi everybody, it's Jared here with DayTraders FX. I hope you've had a good week this week trading. I hope you had some good opportunities to find a couple of trades and a few things to get into. I think that this is probably the slowest week I've seen in at least a year. I mean, I'm pretty sure the week between Christmas and New Year's had more activity than we saw this week. But we still did get some movements. We still got some movements. We've had great weeks, all through summer, and this just happened to be a really slow week. But it was also a really low news week. Pretty much everything that we had this on the calendar for news was just not really significant. You can see how few news announcements we did actually have, and then really the only thing of any significance was the European interest rate news on Thursday. Everything else this week was pretty uneventful. So not a lot of news this week, and it definitely translated into not a lot of movement in the forex market as well. Going into next week, we have an incredible amount of news. You can see all that news. It's going to be a real busy, crazy one. So be ready for that, including we'll have U.S. employment numbers at the end of the week, and that should be pretty crazy. But we've got at least a couple of countries reporting interest rate news, including the U.S., UK, Japan. We've got a couple of employment numbers next week. We just have so much news, and so that's gonna. So we've gone from this, famine to feast of news. And make no mistake about it, news moves the market any time of year, whether it's summer or not. So we should get some good activity out of that. Here's the trades that I think, that I'm kind of sticking by so far that I think are going to be the most interesting. Still standing by this Aussie New Zealand. I think Aussie New Zealand is just, all week long it just did this, and it might continue to do that for a little bit more. But I'm absolutely looking for that kind of move down. I think this can make a good push down into all these missed pivots down here in the 10600 area. And so that's kind of what we want to see happen. But it's going to be a slow, steady pace. So, basically all we want to see here is let's get this thing to run up just a little bit and then sell off. That's all we want. So look for opportunities to short this Aussie New Zealand against some of those highs. I think that should be a great opportunity for a long-term, not necessarily long-term. It could be a slow mover, but I think it could be good for, 200 to 300 pips, pretty easily, hopefully. So 200 to 300 pip run down should be nice. I'm definitely looking for that to happen and play out, and that looks good. So Aussie New Zealand's still waiting for us. We're still looking for a good opportunity there. Here's a big favorite also. We've got the Euro Swiss. So that Euro Swiss, we've got a huge head and shoulders pattern playing out. I'm just basically, I'm looking for this Euro Swiss to run from about 106 to about 111. Or excuse me, 116 to about 111/110. I think the Euro Swiss is going to sell off big time. What we want to see, though, is just some nice pullback. And this, pulled back here, got up to about 116. It's bumped down just a little bit, 15 pips. It's kind of a slow mover. I want to see it get a little bit higher. Let's get up above 116. Let's get into 116.25, 116.50, somewhere in there. And let's try to short this Euro Swiss and trade it down. A lot of these other pairs, I'm looking for further yen strength for the week ahead. I think we can see some of that. We definitely saw this Euro-Yen make a nice run down, and it actually might make a big recovery before it continues lower. It's got a nice mispivot up there, but it's hit these lower targets pretty well. Looking for Euro, looking for yen strength still. I think we've got, good reason to believe that we could see things like, CAD yen head lower, Euro yen head lower, Aussie yen head lower. These are all setting up pretty well, and I think they could make a nice little run down into those lows. So Euro yen, Aussie yen, CAD yen, probably pound yen and some of the others as well could be heading in that direction. So I like looking for some yen strength in the week ahead. I think it's going to still be a little bit mixed bag on dollar pairs. We've got big news in going into next week. So we have the interest rate announcement for the U.S. next week. We have employment numbers for the U.S. next week. I think it's going to be pretty intense stuff. So we're going to keep an eye on that, kind of see where that goes, see how that plays out. So dollar pairs will probably not be super tradable next week. But the thing to remember, those that have the forex scanner, those that have, the 15-minute trade indicator and setup, if you have the scanner, this is going to be a great opportunity to look at smaller time frames like 5-minute charts and use the scanner setup to trade some of these 5-minute chart setups. Somebody brought it up today. We had a really nice trade from the scanner that a couple of members were able to get into on the New Zealand CAD. There's that New Zealand CAD. So that nice little bump up right there. You can see down on some 5-minute charts, we had a good bar count. We had a nice little run down. We had a good pivot up there to target. And as soon as that bar count got good enough, we saw a really nice little push here. So you can see that this ran about, hit a high bar count, 400 plus on this 5-minute chart, and then just blasted up about 40 pips on a small time frame. This is great stuff. This is the kind of stuff we want to look at and trade, especially in these kind of choppy markets where summer volume is a little bit low. So don't hesitate to drop down to those 5-minute charts. Use that scanner for those 5-minute charts. That's why we've got the 5-minute setup, and we've even got the 1-minute setup, because these are going to be good opportunities to find short-term overextended charts. And remember, when we find these setups even on 5-minute charts, it's good to know the big picture. New Zealand CAD, had a big bar count. We saw Canadian strength this week, which kind of ran this New Zealand CAD down. But look at this. When we see this kind of stuff happen, we want to pound on this, right? We get a big run down New Zealand CAD, and then it gets down to some, basically just a nice perfect double bottom. High bar count on a low time frame, double bottom on a higher time frame, high probability upper target. How much more do we need? That's a no-brainer right there. That is just a no-brainer trade. That's beautiful. So that's the kind of stuff I want you to look for. Check out that scanner. Look at those 1-minute and 5-minute trades. It doesn't matter if it's a 1-second trade. If we've got some overextension going on, and we've got a good target to aim for, and we have a good level to be coming off of, a good support or resistance level to be bouncing off of, chase after that. Go for it. Go for it in a big, massive, huge way, and there's going to be plenty of opportunity there to grab some short-term and even some longer-term pips. So that's the kind of stuff that we definitely want to look for and watch for in kind of these summer markets. Even as summer chop kind of happens, we're still seeing pockets of strength. We saw the Canadian dollar, take off and make a little bit of a move this week. We saw the euro pairs take off, make a little bit of a move this week. It was definitely a little more apparent in euro yen and euro Swiss. They kind of made a little bit of a move this week. So that's the kind of stuff we want to look for. And as those charts start to get overextended, drop down to those lower time frames. Hit those lower time frames up for for some bar counts, for some things to trade back to. So it's all very good stuff. It's all some of my favorite kind of trading, and I think we're going to have some good opportunities with those short-term charts and in the choppy markets, but in the long-term charts with some of this big picture stuff. So I'm going into next week ready for a heavy amount of news, ready for a big amount of volatility on a daily basis because of how much news we have. But I'm also going to be looking at these short-term 5-minute charts. I'm going to be looking at these short-term 15-minute setups. I'm going to be looking at the long-term big setups of Aussie New Zealand and Euro Swiss, and trading those guys down for big pushes and big moves. So very excited about all of that. I think we're going to have some great opportunities there. And of course, a lot more is going to pop up, across the board. But we're watching New Zealand pairs. Basically, what I want to see is the Aussie New Zealand move down. I want to see the Euro Swiss move down. And I want to see New Zealand strength next week. And I think we could see that. I think we could find some New Zealand strength. We have New Zealand CAD bouncing off a big double bottom and actually bouncing off, some pretty good resistance, or pretty good support back here. We've hit this area a couple of times, taking us all the way back into, last year. So that's a good support level around that 8,800. Of course, we have the Aussie New Zealand, which has a good opportunity to trade towards some New Zealand strength. We have the New Zealand Swiss here that's kind of headed, off some big lows, and should be a great opportunity to kind of see if we can get some upward movement out of that. So let's keep our eyes out and be ready to find some New Zealand strength next week, as well as continue to sell off of some of these other other big setups. So we have some good stuff in the works. Make sure you have a look at the scanner. Make sure you have a look at the 15-minute trade. They're both great tools, and they can be very, 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 very helpful in getting you some pips in these choppy markets. If you haven't seen the scanner, visit the website. You can see, just go to dtfx.co/scanner, and you can get a good feel for our what the scanner is. A little opportunity to kind of talk about how it works, and you can check that out. We just did a webinar last week on the scanner, and it was really great. We found some great trading opportunities, and people are seeing some excellent success out of it. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week. So happy to see that some profits were made. We had some good things happen in the chat group and in the live trading group. All very, very good stuff. Thanks, guys. Take care. We'll see you all next week.